Jim still refused it. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas.
Pause for 1 second. So basically what's happening so far, because the last class had a hard time kind of understanding what was happening. So far she's like counting her change and she's realizing that she only has $1.87 to buy a Christmas present for her husband.
There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl. So Della did it, which instigates the moral reflection that life is made up of soft sniffles and smiles, with sniffles predominating. While the mistress of the home is gradually subsiding from the first stage into the second, take a look at the home. A finished flat at $8 per week. It did not exactly beggar a description, but it certainly had that word on the lookout for the vacancy squad. In the vestibule glow with a letterbox into which no letter go, and an electric button for which no moral finger could coax or write, and appertaining thereunto was a card bearing the name Mr. James Dillingham Young.
So again, like what's been happening now is she's like looking around her flat and like realizing like it's not like they're not poor, but they're also not rich either. So that's kind of what she was doing.
The Dillingham had been flown to the breeze during the former period of prosperity with its possessor, or when its possessor was being paid $30 per week. Now when the income was shrunk to $20, the letter of Dillingham looked word as though they were thinking seriously of contracting to a modest and unassuming deed. But whenever Mr. James Dillingham Young came home and reached his flat above, he was called Jim and greatly hugged by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, already introduced to you as Della, which is all very good. Della finished her cry and attended to her cheeks with a powder rag. She stood by the window and looked out dully at a gray cat walking a gray fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 with which to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could for months. With this result, $20 a week didn't go far. Expenses had been greater than she had calculated. They all just had only $1.87 to buy a present for Jim. Many a happy hour she had spent planning for something nice for him, something fine and rare and stirring, something just a little bit near to being worthy of the honor of being owned by Jim. There was a fire glass between the windows of the room. Perhaps you have seen a fire glass at an $8 flat. A very thin and very agile person may, by observing his reflection in the rapid sequence of longitudinal strips, obtain a fairly accurate conception of his looks. Della, being sobered, had mastered the hour. Suddenly she whirled from the window and stood before the glass. Her eyes were shining brilliantly, but her face had lost its color within 20 seconds. Rapidly she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now there were two possessions of the James Dillingham Youngs in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim Gould's watch that had been his father and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Had the Queen of Sheba lived in the flat across the air shaft, Della would have let her hair hang out the window some day to dry, just to appreciate Her Majesty's jewels and gifts. Had King Solomon been the janitor with all his treasures piled up in the basement, Jim would have pulled out his watch every time he passed, just to see the pork and his beard from him. So now Della's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knee and made itself almost a garment for her, and then she did it again, nervously and quickly. Once she faltered for a minute and stood still while a tear or two splashed on the warm red carpet. On went her with the brilliant sparkle still in her eyes. She floated out the door and down the stairs to the street. Where she stopped, the sign read, Madam Softening, hair goods of all kinds. One flight up Delaware ran and collected herself, fainting. Madam, large, too light, chilly, hardly work this.
Thank you. So basically what she just read is that Jim and Della had like 2 prized possessions. Jim's watch, which was a really nice watch. I think it said that it was given from his grandfather. And then the other one was her hair. She like had really beautiful long hair, and like so like they have a lot of description in the very beginning that's kind of confusing, but it's basically her taking in all that's around her while like kind of figuring out how she's gonna make up the money to like buy Jim the gift that she think would be worthy of him. So whoever would come up and read next. I will. So you just read to.
Will you buy my hair? Asked Della. I buy hair, said Madame. Take your hat off and let's have a sight at the looks of it. Down rippled the brown cascade. $20, said Madame, lifting the mass with a practiced hand. Give it to me quick, said Della. Oh, and the next 2 hours tripped by on rosy wings. Forget the hashed metaphor. She was ransacking the stores for Jim's present. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any of it in stores. And she had turned all of them inside out. It was a platinum fob chain, simple and cast in design. Properly proclaiming its value by substance alone and not by meretricious ornamentation, as all good things should do, it was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew it must be Jim's. It was like him. Quietness and value, the description applied to both. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with the 87 cents. With that chain on his watch, Jim might be properly anxious about the time in any company. Grand as the watch was, he sometimes looked at it on the sly on account of the old leather strap that he used in place of a chain. When Della reached home to her intoxication gave way to a little prudence and reason. She got out of her curling irons and lighted the gas and went to work, repairing the ravages made by generosity added to love.
Can anyone tell me like what just happened? What did Della just do? She went to the hair salon for what reason? To sell her hair. And why did she sell her hair? Yes. And so back in that time period, like that was like a big thing. Like you could go and sell your hair and like you could get money for it. So like she loved her hair, but she was willing to give that up for her husband.
Like they'd make wigs and stuff like
Yeah.
that out of real
Yeah.
hair.
Which is always a tremendous task, dear friends, a mammoth task. Within 40 minutes, her head was covered with tiny, close-lying curls that made her look wonderfully like a truant schoolboy. She looked at her reflection in the mirror, long, carefully, and critically. If Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, before he takes a second look at me, he'll say I look like a Coney Island chorus girl. But what could I do? Oh, what could I do with $1.87? At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made and the frying pan was on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Jim was never late. Della doubled the fob chain in her hand and sat on the corner of the table near the door that he always entered. Then she heard his step on the door a stairway down on the first flight, and she turned white just for a moment. She had a habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest everyday things. And now she whispered, please God, make him think I am still pretty. The door opened and Jim stepped in and closed it. He looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow, he was only 22 and to be burdened with a family. He needed a new overcoat and he was without gloves. Jim stepped inside the door, as immovable as a setter at the scent of oil. His eyes were fixed upon Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read, and it terrified her. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments that she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her fixedly with that peculiar expression on his face. Della wriggled off the table and went for him. Jim, darling, she cried, don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold it because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without you giving you a present. It'll grow out again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you. You've cut your hair? Asked Jim, laboriously, as if he had not arrived at the patent fact yet, even after the hardest mental labor.
Thank you.
Yeah, is it close to being done or?
There's another page and a half.
Okay, we can.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I thought they were saying that because
A
of
page
page
and a half.
I was like, a page and a half. I know it's not my class. Okay, let's see.
No, like, it came.
Let's just, no, because I want to get a picture of you guys.
Okay, so basically the ending of the story, has anyone?
Well, no, I'll finish it next time in class with them. So, yeah. Hey, there's